Over the 25 days of Ficsmas, Coffee Stain gave to me 100 Ficsmas gifts, 25 golden ornaments, 1 red ornament, 1 ornament bundle, 1 basic Ficsmas skin, 100 more Ficsmas gifts, 50 actual snow, 25 Fix-It coupons, 50 snowballs, 1 wonder star, 1 premium Ficsmas skin, 200 color cartridges, 20 candy canes, 7 superposition oscillators. What? 25 iron ornaments, 10 inhalers, 25 ribbons, 10 decorations, 5 more Fix-It coupons, 20 power shards.
Oh my god, that's a gift.
2 quantum computers, 1 piece of coal, 33 branches, a finger gun emote, and 3 types of fireworks. In the small area I set up for my Ficsmas factory, I developed the items I needed to unlock a few of the milestones in the MAM. The only one that was missing was the red ornament, which I got on day 3.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Ficsmas is coming to town.
Oh Ada, you're so wrong. Ficsmas is already here. That upgrade unlocked a new decoration for the giant Ficsmas tree in the form of candy canes. I continued to fish for gifts that fell along the map and fed them into constructors to keep unlocking more parts. And once I had enough, I unlocked a friend and the Ficsmas gift tree. Now the Ficsmas gift tree allowed me to, just like regular Satisfactory, automate things, where before I would have to fish my gifts or my resources manually, this new tree actually produces gifts, much like a miner would on any node. To that end, and because I started requiring more and more materials, I decided to expand a bit on the Ficsmas platform I set up to actually have a couple of trees lined up to simply automate the process. But I soon realized that the amount of trees needed to create the amount of materials needed at any given time would be too many. And also, the copper and iron Ficsmas ornaments required, well, copper and iron to make, which meant I had to think outside the box and restructure my idea for a factory. While I hadn't originally planned to make one, it was at this time that I realized, wait a minute, this is Ficsmas. This is the perfect time to actually put a crazy idea like this into place. So I undid all that I had built and immediately set off to the new location where a brand new factory would be. I had to choose somewhere that had obviously some copper and iron lying around that I wasn't using, and I found the perfect place, in the most symbolic of areas. That's right, I chose a new area, or rather one that already existed, but that was recently changed up in Update 5, which is an area at the northeastern tip of the map. In it, there's now a giant crater, and I thought this is the perfect place for it. We've got iron, we've got copper, and I've got just the idea for it. And as for the symbolism, well, what's more symbolic than having what would eventually become Santa's workshop in the northernmost part of the map? After all, he lives in the North Pole, right? Which is all very much ironic considering that the northeastern part of the map is a desert. Deserts, tundras, they're all the same thing, but hey, deserts are hot, tundras are cold. Tomatoes, tomatoes. Point is, I decided to build here, and to do so I immediately set out to establish the limits of my foundation. I wanted to make something huge, but simple and practical. And with the crater here, I had one of my greatest ideas yet. I made the edge out of concrete to really sell that cold, lifeless factory look, and the inner factory floor would all be glass foundations, which I eventually changed for glass roofs, because, again, symbolism, Santa, he comes in through the roof, and also glass because, hey, you want the elves to look down at their untimely demise should they ever mess up on the line. It wasn't long after I finished setting up the foundation that I immediately got to work on placing down my miners, routing their conveyor belts up, and then into some smelters, constructors, and the adjacent foundries that would need to work all in conjunction to start producing the new parts, which in this case were the iron and copper ornaments. And of course, after amassing the amount of ornaments I needed, plus getting the ornament bundle on day 4, I unlocked the giant Ficsmas tree upgrade 2.
We're making a list, we're checking it twice. We're gonna find out who's been selling the spice. Ficsmas is coming to town.
Uh-oh, don't tell her that's been me! Which ultimately gave the Ficsmas tree an even greater look. now with some ornaments hanging off its branches. By this point in time, I already had an advanced idea of how I wanted the entire layout to be. I'm not gonna lie, I did look up on the wiki just how much materials would be needed for everything, so I planned ahead and started placing down all the conveyor belts, all of the buildings, and everything that I would need, including all the Ficsmas trees to make all the gifts, to make all the parts, to in the end, make all the parts. Especially because some parts would only be unlocked after you unlocked their specific milestone, like the ornament bundles, which I unlocked in the Ficsmas Lights milestone, and soon after that I also unlocked It's Snowing. Now it was around this point in time that all I could do really was wait for materials to build up, and coincidentally this was just the 5th day in, which meant that I had already unlocked the basic Ficsmas skin. So in other words, while I waited for things to build up and build themselves out, I decided to apply a moderate coat of paint to all of my factory's conveyor belts. Day 10, and I had finally unlocked the Ficsmas Wonder Star, at the very least the one I need to unlock the Ficsmas Tree Upgrade 3.
We see you when you're sleeping, we know when you're awake. We know if you've been productive or not, so be efficient for goodness sake.
Which again upgraded my Ficsmas tree's look in an area that I was already starting to shape out to be my grand Ficsmas area next to the hub. This latest upgrade added lights and hung some gifts from the tree. I spared no time in unlocking Ficsmas wreaths and a snow fight milestones, and then of course all that was left was to finish the production line to make the Wonder Stars and amass enough Wonder Stars to unlock the final Ficsmas tree upgrade. Which meant that, that's right, I was done with the event. I did it all, but I wasn't satisfied just yet.
You better watch out, 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 you better watch out. Ficsmas is coming to town.
The final tree's look was all of the above, plus a little star on the very tip. Which brings us to the present, and before I unveil the grand factory, let me just say that once I was actually done with the production line, all I had to do was place up walls, and then I thought, you know, I could do one more thing. So I thought of maybe adding something on the roof, and that's when it struck me. Of course, I could add Santa's sleigh, which is going to eventually be a functional train, but for now, welcome to Santa's workshop. This beautiful, simple, very square monstrosity of a workshop is a marvel of engineering and efficiency. No factory is left without any materials for any given time, everything is in full production, and I've got a nice stock of Ficsmas materials should I ever need them. It's painted to look like an open gift box, with red wrapping and a golden ribbon wrapping it all up. I put down plenty of lights because, you know, you can't really advertise where Santa's workshop is, but hey, we're not on Earth, who cares? Moving closer into Santa's workshop, we find that just outside, our gingerbread-themed truck is neatly parked, and so we find ourselves at the entrance. It's grand, it's imposing, and the glass floors really ensure that elves don't ever mess up on the production line. Thus, we step inside and we are immediately greeted by the warm glow of artificial lights, meant to remind the poor worker elves of a simpler time when they could bask in the glow of their tiny candles inside of their cozy cabins on a cold winter night. And of course, dotted around the factory are motivational posters and billboards meant to rile up and inspire those great worker elves, such as, remember, Santa's always watching you, so you better not mess up. And just in case they do have any ideas of messing up, we've got snowmen patrolling the halls. Also dotted alongside the billboards and the candy cane are some snow dispensers, just so that elves don't forget where they come from or what'll happen to them if they stop working. So let me walk you through the factory, shall I? Right through the side entrance we get a glimpse of the conveyor lift that's bringing in the iron that's being processed by 3 smelters into iron ingots. These iron ingots later go on into foundries that, alongside blue Ficsmas ornaments, end up making the iron Ficsmas ornaments. Over here we have a glimpse of the 3 trees that feed into the 8 constructors making the blue Ficsmas ornaments, and we also have a view here of another 4 trees processing the gifts they make into candy canes, but I'll get back to that in a bit. At the far end of the factory, we have our 6th foundry that receive the iron ingots and the blue Ficsmas ornaments, as I just said, to create the silver ornaments. The silver ornaments, alongside the gold ornaments, are used to make the Ficsmas bundles. Similarly, by the back entrance, we have our 2 smelters processing copper ore into copper ingots. We have our 4 trees, because for copper and iron there are different amounts needed, and again, the gifts from the trees enter, in this case, 10 constructors that make the red ornaments. Red ornaments and copper make the golden Ficsmas ornaments, and together, alongside the silver ones, as I just mentioned, they go into 6 assemblers that make the Ficsmas ornament bundles. Now moving on, you see the line that takes the Ficsmas bundles go along and across next to a line of 10 Ficsmas trees that produce gifts that are then transformed by 6 constructors into Ficsmas tree branches. The tree branches alongside the Ficsmas ornament bundles are then fed into 3 assemblers that are used to make the Ficsmas decorations, otherwise known as the wreath. And then finally, the wreath, alongside with the candy canes from before, feed into the final assembler, which makes the Ficsmas Wonder Stars. And that is the entire layout for the advanced materials production on the bottom layer of Santa's workshop. Before we move on, here's a view of all 4 corners of the production line. Lastly, we go out the back and up the rear ladder onto the roof, where we have a massive fleet of Ficsmas trees and constructors, all making the most basic of Ficsmas materials, such as the candy canes and the Ficsmas tree branches, but also actual snow, which is also then processed into snowballs, otherwise known as the alternative nobelisks, and Ficsmas ribbons. Here we have a view of Santa's sleigh, and I didn't mention it before, but as you can see, everything, absolutely everything, is Ficsmas themed, the beautiful red and green. Lastly, above the station, we have general and massive storage for all of these materials, and thus, the actual factory is complete. As for what Santa's sleigh will be transporting, well, what does he ever transport? That's right, coal. I do have a use for this, it will become functional, but for the moment, it's gonna stay completely still. So that's it. Between Santa's workshop and my little Ficsmas area, what do you think? I'm quite proud of how it came out. I really do like it. But of course, the event wouldn't be over if we didn't celebrate with the very last thing that was given to me. More alternative novelist ammo, and I'll be honest, I unlocked this and recorded this on the same day, so I didn't even know there was production of a final material. I'll have to add this to Santa's workshop, but for now, let's just enjoy the show. But with all of that said and done, that puts an end to the Ficsmas event, and all I really have to say is that I'm really thankful. I'd like to thank Coffee Stain Studios for both making this event and the game in general. I loved making this factory just as I've loved making all the others, and I hope to keep playing this long into 2022 and beyond. It's just such a nice game, such a relaxing game for me, and to think it's still only in early access. Well, that's what they say, but it's so complete, I really can't fault them for it. Anywho, I'd also like to wish you a happy holidays, and yeah, I'll probably be seeing you this final week before the end of the year. If not, then, you know, see you next year. For now, Merry Ficsmas.